We went to Washington, D.C., because that's where they know Congress the best. Florida isn't just about the presidential campaign. All 32 House seats are up, and who controls Florida probably controls Congress. So we asked Americans from the Washington, D.C. area to react to Congress, and here's what they had to say. What is the highest priority of an elected representative? To represent their own beliefs or to represent the voters' beliefs? Who says their own? Raise your hands. And who says the voters? Raise your hands. Very quickly, why their own?
Because they should stand up for what they believe in, and then it's up to us to vote for them. If we agree with their beliefs, then we put them into office. Otherwise, they're not going for our principles, they're going against their own.
And why they're voters?
I think that you should do what the voters want, because of the fact that's why they put you there. You are our spokesman, our representative. Congressman
Allen West, you've got a district that is very split.
Yes.
A third Republican, a third Democrat, a third Independent.
Absolutely.
You got elected with what percent?
54.3%.
So it's a pretty close election.
Yes.
What is the answer? Do you stand up for your convictions or their convictions?
I stand up for the American convictions.
Please react.
And I think that when you understand what America represents, and when you talk about effective and efficient government, understand its proper roles and responsibilities as it is mandated through the Constitution, when you understand those inalienable rights that each and every one of you were given, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not the guarantee of happiness, and explain how you're going to protect those individual rights. When you talk about our free market system and the entrepreneurial spirit which really did grow this country, how do you make sure that you create the right type of policies that allow our small businesses to grow, our corporations and businesses to thrive? But you have to have the right type of regulation to make sure that they don't go overboard. You got to talk to people about our traditional cultural values. There may be some split there, but at least you have to convey to folks you do believe in our language, you do believe in faith, you do believe in family. And then, having spent 22 years in the military, we can make the American people prosperous, but we still got to keep you safe, and we have to keep you secure. Those are the 5 standard principles that I stand upon, and I think when you articulate it to the American people, they at least know where you're coming from.
You're smiling. I got to go to you first. Now you're laughing. Tell me.
Because I feel like he's talking a good game, but I follow a lot of your comments, and a lot of your comments seem to be divisive, closed-minded, and just out of nowhere. Like your comment about blacks and the Democratic Party, like I'm a black person who votes Democratic, but not because my family told me to vote Democratic, not because I'm brainwashed, but because I actually look at the issues and I vote my faith. But from your comments and what you're saying now are two different things.
You know, yesterday we had a conservative black forum because 33% of African Americans self-identify as conservative. But yet when you look at what's happening in elections, for some odd reason you get 90-some-odd%. And what I find is very perplexing is that when people come up to me and they say, well, how can you be a Republican? So in other words, are you telling me that I don't have the free will to make any type of decisions on my own? And that's where I challenge people.
Janice.
I don't agree at all with what the woman in the second row was saying. I do take you at your word. I think you're sincere, and I respect everything you've said, and I take you at your word.
Samantha.
Every time I see you on television, you're just so honest and upfront, and I really respect that. So I believe everything that you're saying to me, and you can tell that it's really, truly a part of you.
This is what I think is so important. And it does come back to the fact that, you know, I've led soldiers in combat. We got to get away from telling people what they think they want to hear. Amen. And telling people what they need to hear.
You guys agree?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I agree with that. However, his comments were not directed at your demographic. I am a conservative Democrat. I have voted for Democrats and Republicans.
Which Republican presidential candidate have you voted for?
I have not voted for Republican presidential candidate because there's nobody who actually voted. I felt like voted my issues, but I'm from Georgia, so I voted for Republicans.
I'm from
before.
Georgia too.
I know, Atlanta. I understand that. However, like
much too sophisticated an audience here.
But when you talk, I just felt like a lot of your comments would put us in a box. And a lot of my friends are conservative. You actually know some of my conservative friends. But to say that we're sheep and we're blinded by one party, well, we might actually believe that
Did
party.
you say that?
No, but
how many of you heard that
that's
from
not
him?
What I'm talking about. I don't
Who
believe
did not hear that from him? Raise your hands.
But that's not.
So I got to ask you a question. Okay. What are you hearing that the other 28 people in here aren't?
I'm listening to his comments now. and then listen to the comments he had in the past, and those don't match up to me. So that's
But
what
you're
I'm
responding to what he just said now. You're criticizing him for something
because I
he
don't
saw.
believe those comments that he's saying now go up by the comments he said.
Well, let me tell you one thing that I think you are referring back to. And there was a quote by Alexander the Great. And Alexander the Great said that I do not fear an army of lions if they were to be led by sheep, but I would fear an army of sheep if they were to be led by a lion. Now, that's the reference. That's the lions and lambs quote from Alexander the Great. And I think that America has to portray strength. And that's one of the things that I believe Ronald Reagan conveyed, peace through strength. And that's what we have to be able to do to keep you secure and safe. Mike, your reaction?
I agree. I respect the congressman as a leader, and I did not hear any of that. I heard you talking about leadership in Congress and responsibility and the free market system we have and supporting businesses and getting us back on track.
Linda.
I appreciate what you said about you don't want to tell us what we want to hear. I think we need to hear what's really happening and what's going on, not what we want to hear.
As an African American and Asian woman, and like I said, my brother was killed in Afghanistan, I didn't hear anything but positive, and I'm an independent voter, and you actually sparked some interest to learning more about what you stand for. So I'm really grateful for some of the quotes that you just stated.
And I will tell you, I'm a tough guy. I am not going to kid about that. But I had a mother that taught me one very special maxim. A man must stand for something, or else he will fall for anything. And I think that's what you want to respect, and that's what you want to see in people up here in Washington, D.C. For me, it is not about getting reelected. It's about getting my country back on track. But if we continue down the roads of this debt and this deficit and growing government and not trusting the American people to turn this economy around, those things won't be there for them.
Do you want him elected?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want him to stay in Washington?
Yes.
Congressman, they don't agree on anything, but at least they almost all agree on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.